Darling in the Franxx was never a perfect show. It was always mired in pseudo-intellectual philosophy and heavy-handed metaphor going all the way back to its first episode. From mechs being named after flowers and requiring both pestle and stamen to pilot, to children literally being referred to as parasites. Despite having all the subtlety of a nuclear bomb, I still found things to enjoy with Franxx. After all, I'm probably the biggest trigger and Gynex mark you'll ever meet. When I say that I loathe Franxx as if it personally pissed on me and told me it was raining, understand that my feeling this way wasn't a gradual shift. All it took to break me out of months of apologetics and sending me spiraling off the edge of my own sanity was a single episode. Episode 23 starts on a pretty average note for Franxx. Kokoro, feeling as if she is a burden, wonders why Mitsuru would stay behind as the other characters jet off into space. He tells Kokoro that he feels a responsibility to see things through, referring to how he put a bun in her oven shortly before the government-mandated brainwashing forced them to forget that they had ever met. You know, in hindsight, this show really is stupid. We're then treated to a series of dumb space bullshit. The Klaxosaurs, in their infinite wisdom, built upgraded suits for the team members that came along with Hero to space. Don't know how they knew exactly who was going to stay behind, or why they'd cannibalize their own kind to make more Franxx. Do you remember that detail? Franxx are made out of Klaxosaur corpses. How do the Klaxosaurs even know how to make Franxx? Maybe these upgrades were made by Dr. Franxx. But why would he make a bunch of space Franxx when no one even knew about the aliens until episode 20? And why didn't the Nines get new suits? Are these expendable fuckboys just not main character enough? Are terrestrial Franxx even airtight? My head is starting to hurt. We then get a scene of Hiro, Goro, and Ichigo that's pretty decent. If Franxx does one thing well, it's character interaction. These characters always feel natural when dumb bullshit and pseudo-intellectual garbage isn't dragging them down. If not for the character writing, I honestly would have dropped Franxx like the sack of hot shit it is by episode 3. Cut to the Klaxosaur spaceship as it races through the Verm fleet on its way towards Mars orbit. The Verm, noticing their advance, set up a rather small roadblock to slow them down. In space. Do they realize that you can utilize all 3 dimensions rather fucking easily when traveling through space? Just go around. It's the smallest fucking barrier. They aren't under any time constraints, but nah, just go through the tiny wall they made with their bodies. Have I mentioned how dumb I think this all is? Once they reach Strelitzia, Alpha boots Hiro out of his Franxx to buy him some time, and a scene of self-sacrifice that would have had more meaning if only Alpha wasn't a giant piece of shit. They take the time to give him a tastefully animated death scene, and it amounts to nothing because 3 episodes ago he was an evil shit, and the closest thing to a redemption arc for him is agreeing to help them in the first place. Hiro's shown making his way to the cockpit, monologuing about 02 before cutting back to Earth and her comatose-like husk. For whatever reason, her body is shown seemingly trying to get closer to the action out in space, but why the body has that yearning despite her consciousness already being inside Apus, who fucking knows. Once in the cockpit, Hiro gets vored by 02 tentacles, finally becoming one with his waifu. This leads to a set of scenes I'd consider legitimately good, possibly the only ones in the entire episode. Inside of Apus, the consciousness of 02 has constructed a picture-perfect recreation of the book she read as a child, and boy, is the use of color here gorgeous. Maybe it's just because the vast majority of Franxx is bogged down in muted grays and blues, but I find these scenes legitimately well done. Even the imagery here is pretty good. 02 takes the form of herself as a child, symbolizing how she's trying to push away Hiro by reverting back to how she used to be when she was at her loneliest. and Hero takes the form of the drawing of the prince he drew that Zero Two loves so much in an attempt to break down the walls that Zero Two is putting up. It's a little dopey, but I think it's pretty cute. But that's enough praise. Let's talk about how bullshit the Verm are. As the previous scene is going on, the representation of the Verm hive mind appeared to the clashing armies to announce the futility of their struggle. If you haven't pieced it together yet, the Verm are just the bastard son of the Anti-Spiral from Gurren Lagann and the Borg from Star Trek. All they want to do is assimilate sentient life forms into their collective consciousness. As boring of a motivation as that is, it could be done well. It's a shame they were introduced as villains 3 fucking episodes ago, and have had absolutely no build-up. This is an obvious attempt by the writers to up the stakes of the story, but it wasn't necessary. All the Verm add to Darling and the Franxx is a bunch of convoluted story threads and unearned references to other better shows. Back to Earth, we see Mitsuru rush out to Kokoro as a storm rages outside. Kokoro, knowing Zero Two's body wants to stay somehow, refuses to budge. She believes that watching over the body of her friend is all she's good for, now that her pregnancy has made her unable to pilot a Franxx. Now, don't ask me why that makes it impossible, since only fertile people can pilot them in the first place, but I stopped trying to make sense of this a while back, folks, but buckle in. Shit's about to get hairy. Inside Apus, we finally reach the last page of the picture book. And it's blank, since Zero Two and Hero don't want their love to end up like the sad ending of the story. Hero takes the form of the previously mentioned goofy prince drawing of his, symbolizing that they are free to be together and make their own future. This is honestly nice. Maybe it's because Zero Two is the only character I really care about, but seeing her happy makes me happy. And then it shits the bed as we cut back to the original body of Zero Two on Earth, as it turns into stone for no good fucking reason. Like, there's no logical reason why the events in space would lead to her body making any physical changes. Jesus Christ, this shit makes no sense! But the fun doesn't stop there, folks, because Strelitzia Apus and Zero Two combine through the power of Voringaman, forming the true Apus, aka Deep Space Waifu, aka Nono from fucking Diebuster in a motherfucking wedding dress, aka what actually broke me about this fucking episode. Jesus fucking Christ. And then the moons of Mars open up and shoot lasers that somehow open a portal that leads to where the Verm are from. And these lasers were somehow built by the Klaxosaurs, despite them not being a spacefaring species until they turned themselves into spaceship dinosaurs 3 episodes ago, and them having no possible way of knowing where the Verm come from. All they know is that they came from outside the fucking galaxy. Nono in a wedding dress then grabs the Buster Bomb from Gunbuster that was hiding in the Klaxosaur spaceship and fucks off through the portal, promising to return. What in the actual fuck? There is still another episode to this train wreck, and I bet my last bit of sanity that it's gonna take place after a time skip, just like the work it's copying. Script break. I am recording this well after it's ended, and I added a little bit about that last episode later on, but yeah, I was right. You can't defend the laziness of this writing, but boy, that hasn't stopped people from trying. The most common defense I've seen is that since the director and writer of Franxx also worked on Diebuster, that excuses stealing plot points from different series? No, that's just lazy writing. Even if Franxx had the same writer as Diebuster, which it doesn't, it would still not be acceptable to just copy your own work and call it a day. Gunbuster and Diebuster earned their respective endings in 6 episodes, but Franxx wants to come out of nowhere in its last 3 and copy the endings from both into one giant clusterfuck. If it's meant to be an homage, then it has to take the time necessary to earn what it's trying to copy, otherwise it's just stealing from shows that came before it, all because they wrote themselves into a corner by forcing its conflict to escalate to unnecessary proportions in the span of the last 4 episodes. What I'm getting at is that for the last 20 episodes, there was no hint at all of a greater threat from space, and in the last 4 episodes, the show suddenly turned into a completely different show without building that up. I decided to put off making this video until the show was over because I was 1 episode away from the actual ending. I thought I'd finish it just in case there was more to say, but honestly there wasn't. The last episode, outside of its opening line describing the trip through the wormhole as a fucking honeymoon, was largely inoffensive. I wouldn't call it good, but compared to the clusterfuck of the previous episode, it was tame. There were even some moments I liked, such as Zero Two's character resolution, what with Zero Two honestly being the only part of the show I like. My major criticism of the last episode is simple though. It feels like the ending to a show that we didn't get. I wouldn't be shocked to find out that Franxx was going to originally be a 50-episode show, because episodes 20 through 24 are a rushed mess of an unnecessary rising action and plot escalation that maybe, just maybe, could have been fixed with a longer runtime. Holy shit! I finished a video. And it didn't take me 3 years. Well, I guess technically it did. The script was written like way back when Franxx first came out, as I said in the actual video. But man, it feels good to have it out. I have been hounded by the ghost of this show for too long, and I have talked to too many apologists for it. So it's good to have my thoughts out there so that whenever they start arguing with me, I can just send it to them. Please, like, subscribe, the gay things that people tell you to do. Share it with people that like the show if you want to piss them off, or share it with, or argue with me in the comments about how good it actually is. Tell me how I'm wrong. With that said, I've been English Mike, and I hate anime.